to Marvel Stadium, the Bulldogs and Collingwood. Make sure you join us.
It's an institution. The players are put up there as heroes. It is absolutely everything.
It's like a religion. There's over 1 million Australians who are paid up members, which makes them one of the most formidable entities in the country.
Norton there as well. Dacos got past it, McComb. Norton bouncing it through.
In the Southern Capitals, Australian rules football is the biggest show in town, and its governing league, the AFL, is all-powerful.
Well, John Cain, the former Victorian Premier, he said to me that the AFL was the most powerful public entity he'd encountered.
Its outgoing CEO, Gillon McLachlan, is currently negotiating a new TV deal, tipped to pour billions through AFL coffers. But the AFL is still confronted by a very expensive problem.
I think there will be a reckoning if the AFL and other codes have a closed shop around this issue.
Chad Rentoul spent 6 years in the AFL from the late 90s into the early 2000s.
I was having migraines like 4 days in a row, just spewing up, couldn't get in bed.
Rentoul's concussions were suffered in an era where little was known about the long-term effects of hits to the head.
I didn't miss a week once I was concussed at all. I used to pass the concussion test as best I could.
By the mid-2000s, damning research into concussion injuries was quickly emerging out of the United States. And back in Australia, then AFL team doctor Michael Makdisi conducted a landmark study of all concussed players from the years 2000 to 2003. Rentoul was forced to retire during that same period after suffering back-to-back concussions in 2002.
Chad Rentoul may have got the worst of it, but they've both regained their footing.
But he was excluded from the study because researchers chose not to examine players who left the game after their injury, citing there'd be insufficient opportunity to follow up with them. In total, 61 concussive incidents were excluded from the study for similar reasons, meaning almost 40% of players who suffered a concussion were ignored.
I was just surprised. I mean, the study can't be accurate and correct if you're missing out on a lot of data.
So right hand just sitting there.
Now, two academics are speaking out, raising concerns that the study, which the AFL used to justify its concussion policy at the time, was flawed.
Well, it certainly doesn't give people confidence in science. Why are some people left out of the research data collection and others are kept in?
I think that the absolute academic rigour is at question now.
Michael Makdisi is now the Chief Medical Officer of the AFL. In a statement, the AFL said it has full confidence in Dr Makdisi.
Trust is lacking. I know that overseas, there have been parliamentary inquiries into similar issues with other sports, and the comment that's come back is that these sports are marking their own homework.
Today, the AFL says protecting players' heads is paramount and stipulates players must spend a minimum 12 days away from the sport while recovering from a concussion. But the league is yet to reveal where that 12-day figure came from. Rowena Mobbs is a neurologist based in Sydney.
The science is pointing towards possibly longer time off play and taking a conservative approach. Many of us in neuroscience would advocate 4 weeks away.
The AFL's CEO, Gillon McLachlan, has not ruled out players spending a mandatory 28 days on the sidelines, but claims the evidence so far doesn't support it.
Well, if that was the advice, we'd take it. But that's not the advice at the moment.
But a Monash University study of amateur players published in April concluded that 12 days rest is insufficient, and that some players have been cleared to return to footy before their brains have fully recovered. Monash is currently receiving funding grants from the AFL. Michael Warner has reported on the AFL for Melbourne's biggest newspaper, the Herald Sun.
Now, once you start getting into 30 days, that's a very big price to pay, and particularly for broadcasters, I imagine, who want to see the best players playing.
The AFL's CEO Gillon McLachlan and Chief Medical Officer Dr Michael McDeasy declined an interview with 730. In a statement, the AFL defended its policy, saying it's not aware of any evidence that any specific period of absence provides any guarantee of safety, and that the current mandated 12-day rest period is a minimum period, noting that when a player does return, it's ultimately up to the clinical judgment of accredited AFL club doctors, and nothing in the guidelines compels a doctor to return a player after only 12 days. It also said many club doctors may choose to use the Monash study's findings to inform their judgment. Associate Professor Alan Pearce was a former collaborator with the AFL.
It has been discussed that 12 days was decided based upon a body of evidence that many of my colleagues are unsure what it is.
Can she kick the Tigers first? She can.
He says the issue extends far beyond the nation's biggest arenas.
Anyone who's exposed to repetitive trauma is at risk of CTE. It doesn't matter if they play D grade or they're playing the AFL. A hit to the head is a hit to the head.
The AFL have always been able to be judged to your execution on their own internal integrity investigations. I don't think there's any doubt that somewhere down the track the AFL is going to have to pay out a lot of money, tens of millions if not more, to former players who have endured head knocks.
Kim Klomp never played in the AFL, but was a champion in South Australia's top state league.
I'd have times when I went through a red light and I didn't know I was going through a red light. I was just there, vagueness.
For the first time, Kim's revealing he believes he has CTE and that it almost cost him his life, likening himself to former AFL player Danny Frawley, who died by suicide in 2019. A post-mortem examination confirmed Frawley had CTE.
I ended up in hospital. With me, it was more of a call for help. But if I didn't want to have that call for help, it would have been me.
Due to concussion of forward Kim Klomp. Like Jarman, he too didn't train, but says he'll almost certainly play on Sunday.
When I was playing footy, concussion was like a cramp. You get rid of the cramp, you go on. Get rid of the concussion, you get on.
Kim Klomp has never heard from South Australia's top league or the AFL, but all he wants is for the players now to be safe.
Anything that can be done for your brain, as soon as it happens, the better off people would be.
Straight into Salem's hip, Lee. A bit ugly this, and he's not feeling well, and he's had a bit of a delayed effect there as well, so this is going to hold the game up, and rightly so.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.